concluding message in the series about Paramahansa Yogananda as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of his arrival in America. The topic is Only Love Remains. I have spoken about his soul calling to be a divine instrument in the world, bringing the liberating teachings of Kriya Yoga to the West. That mission was inspired by the gurus before him who saw him as that instrument to bring forth Kriya Yoga's potential to support global harmony through humanity's spiritual awakening, through the personal transcendental perception of God, beyond sectarianism, beyond boundaries. There's this awakening to the truth. So following that call, required great sacrifices for Yoganandaji. He gave himself completely to that mission and persevered through tremendous obstacles, but he remained undeterred either by praise or blame, by adulation or condemnation, successes or failures. He remained steadfast. And even though his writings, when you look at them, reveal his deep longing for the simple life of a sadhu, free to roam in God consciousness without a care for organizational responsibility, still, he gave his all to the mission. If you have read his book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, you'll remember him telling about in his early life his disdain for organizational work, and telling his guru that he thought organizations were hornets' nests, and that working in an organization was nothing but thankless work. And that assessment that he offered to his guru was met with a strong rebuke by Sri Yukteswar, as well as an imperative to change his ways, to change his thinking. Sri Yukteswar, in confronting him, said, "Do you want all the divine sweetness for yourself alone? Could you or anyone else achieve God contact through yoga if a line of generous-hearted masters had not been willing to convey their knowledge to others? God is the honey," Sri Yukteswar told him. The organizations are the hives. Both are necessary. And then he said, any form is useless, of course, without spirit. But why should you not want to start busy hives full of spiritual nectar? So Yogananda writes that from that moment he resolved, this was his resolution. He said, "I would share with all, so far as lay in my power, the unshackling truths I learned at my guru's feet." And then a prayer arose from his heart that I think reveals the trajectory of his life from that moment forward. And what he prayed was a prayer very familiar to us. And that prayer was, "Lord, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion, and may I be able to awaken that love in other hearts." So given that commitment, that resolve, and that push from his guru, he taught anywhere and everywhere he was invited, sometimes several places in one day. And I can't hardly count the number of women's clubs he went to, and elks clubs and moose clubs and who knows what else. But anywhere he was invited, he went. He trained teachers and leaders to ensure the future of the work. He created beautiful places of worship so that seeking souls could find the path. And he wrote tirelessly to leave a legacy of teaching for us. But I believe that the greatest legacy he left us was the legacy of divine love. When we study his life, we can actually see all the paths of yoga, all the ways to divine realization perfected in him. As a jnana yogi, a wisdom yogi, his power of discernment, his insight into scripture, and the nature of reality was evident, in his classes, in his writing, and in his demonstrations of how to utilize the power of spiritual principles to live effectively. As a Raja yogi of meditation, he exemplified the virtues of the yamas and niyamas through his character. And he was able to climb the mystical meditative stairway to samadhi at will, as well as show others how to do it, sort of take them along with him. And as a bhakti yogi, his love for God, as his constant companion in life is evident. It's evident for all of us to see in his life itself, in his songs and in his poems and his other writings. And honestly, you can just look at his picture, look into his eyes and see and feel his love for God. His surrendered devotion to God was really the hallmark of his life. And of course, he was the perfect Kriya yogi, making available to all sincere seekers the way of self and God realization through the scientific method of harnessing the outflow of energy for inner revelation. But perhaps the most luminous example of the path of yoga through him was his dedication to karma yoga, selflessly serving the one in all. And maybe it comes as a surprise to you that I say that. But in truth, all paths of yoga, indeed, really all spiritual paths of realization arrive there. At the summit is karma yoga. Once we know who we are as spiritual beings and know that God dwells in the temple of souls everywhere, in the hearts of everyone, all that remains is to love and to serve God in all. There's a very moving and I think telling passage in the last chapter of his autobiography, and we find this in the original, the unedited version. So one evening near the end, was nearing the end of his life and the end of his ministry, he was sitting in the chapel of his temple in San Diego, playing the harmonium and chanting, singing to Divine Mother. And he was singing this, one of his deep songs of longing. And the words are, "In this world, Mother, no one can love me. In this world, they do not know love divine. Where is their pure, loving love? Where is there truly loving thee? There my heart longs to be." And the leader of the San Diego Center was sitting there and listening in. And as he heard that sort of plaintive chant, he asked Paramahansaji, he said, "Tell me truly, Paramahansaji, has it been worth it?" Yogananda wrote that he understood the question to mean, have you been happy in America? What about the disillusionments, the heartaches, the center leaders who could not lead, the students who could not be taught? And then Yogananda said he replied sort of humorously, I think, that he felt he had been abundantly blessed by being abundantly tested by God, through it all. But then he wrote from his heart. He said, "I thought then of all the faithful ones, of the love and devotion and understanding that lay in the heart of America." He replied, "My answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. It has been worthwhile. It has been a constant inspiration, more than I ever dreamed, to see East and West brought closer in the only lasting bond, which is the spiritual. And then he added this absolutely tender note. He said, silently, I added a prayer. May Babaji and Sri Yukteswarji feel that I have done my part, not disappointing the high hope in which they sent me forth. Our sojourn on earth, regardless of our years, is always but a brief moment in time. I hope you know that. We hope, we dream, we strive, we grow, we suffer, we learn, we experience happiness, succeed in many endeavors, but our time passes quickly. What remains of a life well lived? I want to turn to a classic scripture from the Christian Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And if I give away all that I have, if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I am nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way, is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Whatever our mission in life, whatever our purpose, whatever our work, our goal, our service, what will serve ultimately and what will remain is love. Only love. Every day, let us inquire in all that I do. Is love present in my heart, in my mind, in my intentions, in my speech, in my actions? Is love being served? Am I growing in love? Am I giving in love? When Yogananda ji told his close disciple, Dayamata, that he would soon be gone, she cried and said to him, Master, you are the diamond in the ring of our hearts. How can we carry on without you? He replied to her, when I am gone, only love can take my place. Then he instructed her, be so drunk with the love of God that you will know nothing but God and give that love to all. That was his instruction for us. Be so filled with the love of God that you will know nothing but God and give that love to all. So the love that remains is the love in our hearts, that love to be awakened, that love for us to live in, that love for us to serve, that love for us to give. Om.